report. A very good evening to you, Catalina. In this edition then, how the war between Israel and Hamas, used by Russia's disinformation campaign against Ukraine. It sounds a pretty convoluted one. Try and dissect it for us.
That's right, Mark. Welcome to Russia's doppelganger disinformation campaign, part 2, a major disinformation campaign led by Russia that was initially uncovered by France back in June, where Russian hackers usurp the identity of Western media websites. They imitate their news articles, their logos, and overall their news style to spread fake information on websites and on social media. Enter phase 2 of this disinformation campaign that began on October 25th, uncovered by Bot Blocker, a pro-Navalny project on X specialized in the analysis of Russian bots. They determined that this new phase is focused on promoting the idea that Ukraine should call for a ceasefire with Russia, since Western aid will be directed towards the war between Israel and Hamas, amongst other pro-Russian narratives. Here's 2 examples of this narrative in action from earlier this week, imitating magazine covers Titanic and Lehman, illustrating an anti-Israel President Zelensky. Mark.
So can you show us some concrete examples of how this disinformation campaign has been operating?
Well, Mark, Bot Blocker found that Russian hackers now use automated spams on X instead of human trolls, as they did in phase 1. Here's an example of this method in action, where this spam floods X with publications or tweets spreading Russian propaganda or fake news at a rate of about 2.5 tweets per minute. This spam material is not only limited to publications on X, but on fake Western news websites as well. Here we have our first example, this fake publication by Le Point. Another example, this fake publication by Fox News. And if you compare these fake news articles to the real ones, you could see that the difference is minimal. So how can you tell? There's one very important detail, the URL address we will show you. Let's use the example first for Fox News. On the fake news article for Fox News, you can see that the URL address ends in .in, while that of the real Fox News website always ends in .com. Then the same thing goes for Le Point. You can see that their fake news article ends in .foo, while the real URL address for Le Point will always end in .fr. So these are very important indications that reveal the identity of these fake news websites spread by Russian propaganda.
Because they look so convincing, don't they? But that important precision creates that difference, doesn't it? So what type of content can we find in these fake news articles?
Indeed, Mark. So we took a look at the content in these fake news articles created by Russian propaganda. They all have one trait in common: pro-Russian narratives. In this fake article by Fox News, we found the narrative to be that Russia has the role of the pacifier in this war between Israel and Hamas. A very common narrative, as they quote Russia. It also insists on a de-escalation. For example, also for the fake news article for Le Point, we found the narrative to be that Europe is getting poorer by funding one war in Ukraine, followed by another war in the Middle East. And this disinformation campaign doesn't only focus on Russia or Ukraine to spread pro-Russian narratives. We also found this post on X that was widely shared, where we see the Stars of David that we saw on the Paris walls earlier this week. Most of the posts had identical claims, identical captions, and a text on them. Most of them saying, "What a shame that this has gotten this far." So this is a strategy to pump anxiety amongst users and shift our attention away from the war in Ukraine and more towards the war between Israel and Hamas. So a disinformation tactic that could prove favorable for Russia in the war against Ukraine if all our attention is shifted elsewhere.
Indeed, it is dastardly ingenious, but it is fake. Catalina, thank you very much indeed for pointing out the why and wherefore of that. Truth or Fake with Catalina. Thanks to Karis for the business. Great.